Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to try out a new pastel that I haven't tried before. This is the Marie's Soft Pastels and I'm going to do a bit of an unboxing and review special today. So I hope that you enjoy this. If you do, then please do subscribe to me here on YouTube. Also check out my full catalogue of real-time tutorials in Soft Pastel over on my Patreon channel. But let's go and have a closer look at this set of 72 colours. I've been wanting to review some entry-level pastels for a while because I'm aware that on my channel I tend to promote quite expensive brands of pastel because I've been using this medium for many years and therefore I have collected some of the best pastels out there. But I did not start with those pastels. Back when I was a student, I was using the very cheapest pastels and I didn't even buy them. It was my older sister, hand-me-downs from my older sister who studied art before me. So I started off with really cheap brands. I think I had a box of Inscribe pastels and I think some Mungyo pastels as well. So these are all the brands at the cheaper end of the market. And these pastels that I'm reviewing today are also at the cheaper end of the market. And I'm really interested to see what you get for your money these days. So the first thing I will show you is the classic unboxing. And in this case, just unwrapping, as I had already taken the outer packaging off. But big thanks to Lightwish for sending me this box of pastels to try out. It's always good to see pastels coming in a proper box with the foam inserts to keep them all safe in transit. So because they sent me this lovely swatch book, I figured why not add a few swatches in here. So this is a very nice way to keep a record of all of the colours you have within a certain medium. So I'm just going to demo a few of the colours on here now. Perhaps I won't take all of them out. Let's just try a few extra special, vibrant colours from this set. So here I was really just dying to try out my new swatch book for this. These are a great idea for recording all of the colours that you have. And you can write their colour code if you want as well, just to keep a record. But to really test out a new pastel, I want to be using a proper pastel paper, something that I would actually choose to paint on. And the little swatch book is fine for keeping a record. I think it's perhaps watercolour paper, which is also quite nice. But you can see that the pastels look a little bit dusty here, and that's mostly because of the paper. So I'll do a couple more and then I'll try out some experiments on my good pastel papers. So here I have two scraps of paper that are the types of paper that I normally use with soft pastels. So one of them is velour. I don't often use white paper, but I happen to have some white coloured velour, which I thought would be quite good for showing up some of the colours more clearly. And then I've also got this yellow scrap of Clairefontaine pastel mat. So these are two papers that I commonly use with soft pastel, and it makes a lot of sense to test these pastels on the papers that I'm used to using. Because actually what I often advise beginners in soft pastel is to make sure that you get a decent pastel paper. So even if you're starting out with cheaper, lower quality pastels, you will get a better chance at learning and improving if you are using a decent pastel paper. So that's actually even slightly more important than having good pastels in the beginning. So try to test out a few different pastel papers and see which one fits best for the style of work that you want to do. So let's just put a few colours onto the paper here. I'm really interested to see how the colours go on, how they apply. First of all, I'm going to test the white. And I'm going to put that on the yellow paper just to see how bright it looks. And what I'm actually most surprised about with these pastels is the texture of them, because I was expecting them to be much harder. They look a little bit like the Rembrandts. I was expecting them perhaps to be as hard as the Rembrandts, and they're not. They're actually really soft, but not too soft at the same time. So I quite like the texture of them. I'm impressed by their texture. Let's try out a few of the more vibrant colours. Let's try a little bit on the velour paper.
So what I found here was that the colours go on pretty solidly and smoothly, so they're not scratchy in their application, and I can layer up colours and mix them together, which is good. Now, of course, you will notice a difference between these and the more expensive brands. The Marie's pastels may not have a huge range of colours available, but what I am most impressed with is how all of the colours apply really smoothly and solidly, which is one of the main things that I'm looking for in a good pastel stick.
So the next little test that I'm going to do is to take the paper off one of these lovely pastels and to attempt to break the pastel stick, because as you can see, we've got nice edges all the way around the pastel here, which is great for finer details. So I will often be making such a variety of marks from my pastel sticks. And I often do like to use the round shape of pastel because I really enjoy the detail that you can get from the ends. But of course, as your pastel stick wears down, you're going to make both ends of the pastel blunt, and eventually you're going to have to take this paper off. So let's experiment with breaking one of these pastels, because eventually I will get to the stage where I can't get any more detail from around the edges of the pastel, and it comes to the point where I have to break the pastel stick. So let's open one up and see what happens.
So in unwrapping the pastel stick, I can see that the paper is a little bit glued onto the pastel itself rather than to the other side of the paper. And this sometimes does leave a little bit of residue on the pastel stick itself, but in this case it's not too bad. It's something that I've seen with some of the other pastel brands as well. I'll just give you a closer look here. The paper comes off quite easily, and it also breaks quite nice and cleanly as well. So I also decided to have a quick play with them, because it's all very well making a few swatches, but what I wanted to see was, could they make a variety of marks? You've just seen me use one on its side there. Can I blend the colours together nicely? Do the light colours go nicely over the top of the dark colours? So these are all things that I look for when I'm testing a pastel. And in actual fact, these weren't bad to work with at all, because they allow me to blend. You can see there I'm creating smooth gradient of colour in the background. I'm also reasonably able to get some fine details, so to create the edges of the cube. And also to layer other colours over the top and start to create that lovely layered pastel effect. So a very quick little experiment, but enough for me to judge whether these pastels are workable, whether they feel close enough to the really high quality pastels that you will be able to get a good feel for this medium. And they certainly do perform pretty well.
So I've made a list of some pros and cons just to give you a more general overview or my general opinion of these pastels. So let's start off with the pros, of which there are quite a few.
So the first pro is the price of the pastels. They are working out at just under €43 for 72, and a small set of 24 is costing just under €20, so they really are nicely priced. For that price, you get really strong colours. The pigments go on really strongly, and the vibrant colours really do have a lot of punch. The texture of the pastels is also very nice. They're quite smooth and buttery in their application, the type of pastel that I usually look for, and not the harder and slightly more scratchy textures. And then their delivery was really fast, and it came in pretty good packaging as well. If you want to check out in your country where you can purchase them or how much they are in your currency, I will add some links in the description below. Now, in terms of the cons, the light fast quality of the pastels is something that I would have to question. This is one of the main reasons why expensive pastels cost what they do. All of the pastels that I use in my work, because I'm selling it, have really good light fast qualities, which means that my colours in my paintings won't deteriorate over time. It's something that is important, but at the same time, if you are getting into the medium and wanting to practice, then it may not be quite such a big deal for you. The second con here is that the colour selection in the 72 set could be better. There are some colours that I feel get repeated a little bit, but on the whole it does give you quite a nice range of vibrant colours especially, and there's just enough of the neutral colours included there to make it worth getting started with. And in fact, the 24 set actually gives you a very nice beginner range of colours to get started with. And then just my final negative comment here is about the papers being stuck to the pastels, and that does leave a little bit of residue on the pastel sticks themselves. Not a huge deal, something that I've noticed with other brands as well, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
So I hope that you found this review helpful. As I said at the beginning of the video, it's almost more important when you're starting out with soft pastel that you give yourself a good pastel paper to work on. And at the beginning, you can actually compromise a little bit on the quality of the soft pastels that you're using. But on the whole, these do actually feel like quite a nice quality and nice texture of a pastel stick to use. They're not too chalky, they go on a little bit more buttery like I expect from the brands that I use. And while I do have some concerns about how light fast they would be, if you're just starting out and you're just looking to try this medium and get a feel for it before investing a ton of money, then I definitely recommend giving these a go. So if you're interested in trying them, I will add some links in my description below of where you can purchase them from. There's also an extra 20% off at the moment, which makes them even more inviting price-wise. But big thanks to Lightwish for sending me these to try. Thanks as well to you guys for watching here on YouTube. If you enjoy my videos, then please do hit subscribe here. Your support means a huge deal to me. But thanks very much for watching, and until next time, happy pasteling.